There's a photograph of Lionel Messi bathing a baby, a blue plastic tub, a rubber duck. Messi is 20 years old, smiling. The baby is 5 months old. Nobody thought about this photo for 15 years. Then someone realized who the baby was. This Sunday, that baby walks onto a pitch in New Jersey to face the man who once held him in his hands, and he could end Messi's World Cup career forever. So how does this happen? How does a random baby from a charity photo shoot grow up to become the one player standing between Messi and football immortality? The answer sounds like fiction, but every single part of it is real. Barcelona, 2007. To understand this photo, you need to know what Barcelona was doing that year. For over a century, the club had refused to put a sponsor on its shirt. Then it finally added a name and paid for the privilege. Not a bank, not an airline, UNICEF. Barcelona gave the charity millions of euros just to wear its logo. So when a local sports newspaper planned a charity calendar that winter, the theme wrote itself: Barca stars, UNICEF, and babies from ordinary local families. Families entered a draw. One name came out: a family from Rocafonda, a working-class immigrant neighborhood up the coast in Mataró, a father from Morocco, a mother from Equatorial Guinea, and their 5-month-old son, Lamine Yamal. His mother carried him into the shoot. Waiting there was a shy 20-year-old Argentinian who hadn't won a single Ballon d'Or yet. The photographer noticed something funny. Messi didn't really know how to hold a baby. Careful, stiff, almost nervous. They filled a small plastic tub, took a handful of frames. Everyone went home, and the pictures disappeared into an archive. Then their lives split in two directions. Messi became the best player anyone had ever seen, but being the best came with a curse. 2014, Brazil. He dragged Argentina to the World Cup final and lost it. Afterwards, he had to walk right past the trophy. He glanced at it. He wasn't allowed to touch it. That image haunted football for a decade. 2 years later, he missed a penalty in another final and quit the national team on the spot. 29 years old. Done. His country begged him to come back. He did. And at 34, he finally won his first title with Argentina, the Copa America. The curse cracked. 18 months later in Qatar, it shattered completely. World champion. At 35, the story felt finished, except it wasn't. Because back in Spain, that baby was growing up fast. Rocafonda isn't a postcard neighborhood. It's tower blocks, immigrant families, and football played on concrete. That's where Lamine learned the game, against older kids who showed him no mercy. Nobody films kids like that. Nobody writes about them. In neighborhoods like Rocafonda, 1 million boys chase the same dream, and the world never learns their names. Lamine was supposed to be one of them. At 7, Barcelona came for him. La Masia, the exact same academy that built Messi. And inside those walls, coaches noticed something strange. Age groups couldn't hold him. They kept promoting him past boys years older, and he'd still be the best player on the pitch. The comparison nobody was allowed to say out loud spread anyway. At 15, Barcelona threw him into the first team. At 16, he became the youngest goal scorer in La Liga history. At 17, he won the European Championship with Spain, one day after his birthday. And every time he scored, he made the same gesture with his hands. 3-0. 4. The postal code of Rocafonda. He never let the world forget where the story started. But the world was about to learn it started even earlier. In 2023, as Lamine broke through at Barcelona, his father posted 2 old photographs online. Messi, the tub, the duck. The caption read, like a prophecy, the beginning of 2 legends. The internet lost its mind. Then, during Euro 2024, it happened again. Bigger. On the eve of his 17th birthday, Lamine scored one of the great semi-final goals. Within hours, the bathtub photo was everywhere on Earth. The photographer went digging through his old negatives and found frames nobody had ever published. A forgotten charity calendar had become one of the most famous photographs in football history, and it created a demand fate couldn't ignore. The whole world wanted the same thing: watch them face each other, just once, before Messi retires. And then, it was actually announced. December 2025. Official, the Finalissima. Champions of Europe against champions of South America. Spain versus Argentina. Messi versus Yamal. For the first time ever. And the venue? Lusail Stadium, Qatar. The exact pitch where Messi lifted the World Cup. It was almost too perfect. A date was set. A stage was built for a farewell. Then the world got in the way. War broke out in the region. Qatar was no longer considered safe. Spain pushed to move the match to Madrid. Argentina refused to play it on Spanish soil. Nobody would budge. And 12 days before kickoff, UEFA made it official. Cancelled. Football's most anticipated first meeting died without a ball being kicked. Messi was months from turning 39. It genuinely looked like the photo would stay a photo forever. Until this summer, Argentina arrived in America as defending champions and as everyone's favorite doubt. Too old, too slow, too dependent on a 39-year-old. Then Messi scored the team's first 5 goals of the tournament. By the knockout rounds, he wasn't just scoring anymore, he was conducting. England took the lead against Argentina, and Messi answered. The comeback kings kept coming back. Best attack in the World Cup. Meanwhile, Spain moved like a machine, unbeaten in 14 straight major tournament matches. 1 goal conceded in the entire World Cup. 1. Yamal, playing through a hamstring injury, still got into the box more than any teenager at a World Cup in 60 years. 17 of Argentina's players own a World Cup medal. No Spaniard owns one. Round by round, the bracket squeezed. 2 paths, 1 collision point. And now, here we are, Sunday, New Jersey, the World Cup final. The first meeting between the champions of Europe and South America in a final in 60 years. And the first time Messi and Lamine Yamal have ever shared a pitch is the biggest game on earth. The match fate, canceled in March, got upgraded to a final in July. But here's the part most people miss. Look at that photo again. In 2007, Messi wasn't a legend yet. He was a 20-year-old prodigy drowning in Maradona comparisons, carrying an entire nation's expectations. Sound familiar? That's Lamine Yamal today, the teenager everyone calls the next Messi. So this was never a picture of a star and a baby. It's the same player, twice. One at the start of the climb, one holding the ladder. Think about what's actually sitting on that pitch on Sunday. For Messi at 39, this is almost certainly the last World Cup match of his life. Win it, and Argentina becomes only the 3rd nation in history to defend the trophy, and his legacy moves beyond argument, forever. For Yamal, it's the first final of a career that could hold many. One of them is running out of time. The other has nothing but time. And between them sits the only prize that decides how forever remembers you. But whatever happens, the photo already told the truth. Because in 2007, neither of them knew what that moment would become. One had all his greatness still ahead of him, and no idea how heavy it would be. The other couldn't walk, couldn't speak, couldn't even know whose hands were holding him. Today, they stand on the biggest stage football has ever built. And only one of them leaves with the ending he dreamed of. Greatness doesn't end. It changes hands. 19 years ago, a photographer pressed a button and accidentally captured the future. Some photos capture a moment. This one predicted it.